This card was alright, but it didn't go well for me with predictions. I ain't going to sit here and lie to you, but I'm not looking forward to the next 2 weeks. Like, the two WMMA main events are just abysmal. Rose Namajunas Ribas, that is not a main event. That is a prelim at best. I wouldn't even put that on the main card anymore. Maybe we threw back in like 2015, put Rose Namajunas on the main, or probably a few years ago, but not now, not against that. It's coming off a loss, don't deserve a main event. And then Erin Blanchfield, Manon Fiorot, I'll give that the benefit of the doubt. That's an alright fight, but the next one coming up, no. Just no. But anyways, the other things that are going on as well, you've got Jose Aldo looking to fight against Jonathan Martinez. I have no idea what's going on. I said he weren't fully retired. I made a video on that as well. And now you've got Tom Aspinall putting his hand on John Jones, and John Jones don't take that nicely. A lot of weird things have been happening. Steve Erceg as well against Alex Pantoja. Like, what was going on? How can a guy skip the queue like that? I'm all for it, but it's just random, and I'm not going to go into detail in every single thing that I've just mentioned, but I'm just saying how, like, bizarre it seems. But first of all, Tai Tuivasa. I'm at the end of it with Tai Tuivasa. I don't know why I've picked him, but I told you why I picked him, because Marcin Tybura doesn't always shoot in. But he finally used his brain and decided, if I can just go out there and shoot on Tai Tuivasa, I can get him down. I can weather the storm, take these punches, which, for a guy with 5 knockouts, I know he's a heavyweight, but he's not got the best chin at heavyweight. I thought Tai Tuivasa, you should be able to maybe clip him on the entry, which he did, cut him open with those sneaky elbows in the clinch. But it is as soon as his back goes up against the cage, it's over. Because Tai Tuivasa did very well at defending the first takedown. He had his hand interlocked behind his legs. When you get your hands interlocked behind the legs, it's quite easy to just lift them up and pull them down, which he almost did, but he keeps his balance. Okay, fair enough. He then goes for it again. He's not giving up. He wants to get the takedown. But then Tai Tuivasa, instead of looking to maintain the balance and look to defend against it, he throws the strike, and that was the beginning of the end. If that strike weren't thrown, the takedown might not have happened, but that's irrelevant because it did happen. And what's annoying about it is we all wanted Tai Tuivasa to win. I doubt there was people who wanted Tybura. Unless you're from Poland, you probably did. But the majority of people, I bet they did want Tai Tuivasa to win that, because now we're on a, 3-fight losing streak? And it's not looking good, but it just shows you that the heavyweights now, you can't just be a striker at heavyweight and go far. It can't happen unless you have got elite striking and you have got half-decent takedown defense. Sergey Pavlovich, to be fair to him, actually has. But remember, his striking is so powerful, he can get away with it. Tai Tuivasa can't, because he ain't got the takedown defense. So if you can bring him down, that's why I said, Gerald and Almeida is the worst possible fight you could give to Tai Tuivasa. So now I'm thinking of him as like a Wonderboy Thompson in terms of not skill, but in terms of the opponents that you want to give to him are going to have to be strikers. You cannot give him any more wrestlers, which means Tai Tuivasa is only going to be here as a journeyman looking for fun fights, because he can't compete with grapplers. It's just not even fair at this point. So I believe the fights we need to start looking at are, I know I said Derek Lewis against that Robles Despanier. I don't know, but I'm going to give you one. Maybe even a Rosenstrike now. That is probably a good fight to make, because I'm sick and tired of seeing him against grapplers, because it's just the same conclusion. And I'm thinking some of the unranked heavyweights might give him a good run for his money. But if you really want to give him like a really downwards level fight, maybe give him a Waldo Cortez Acosta. If you can beat Tai Tuivasa, then I'll start saying you're a good fighter. And I know we don't care what I think, but I just don't rate Waldo Cortez Acosta. He just wins fights. It's not really a heavyweight the way he fights. He fights like a really boring, bit like Jamal Pogues a little bit. But yeah, that's the kind of fight I want to see. And for Tybura, again, he's going to be one of those guys who just hangs around the rankings. Maybe a rematch with Romanov. But then again, that's not really an exciting fight. And do I want to see a fight with him and Jailton Almeida? You know what? That could be an interesting fight. But I do believe if he is ragdolling a guy like Blades, who's got good takedown defense, imagine what he would do to a guy like Tybura. But you've kind of got to give him a better fight now. Like, he just won that. He lost to Aspinall, which is fair enough, but he is the interim champion. But for these heavyweights, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm stuttering like this because I don't know why I've picked Tai Tuivasa. Tai Tuivasa might retire. I hope he doesn't. The UFC won't cut him, but unfortunately, he just can't compete at this level anymore because UFC heavyweights have evolved. Right, this fight here was just embarrassing. Not because of how it performed, it was the after. And who was it embarrassing for? Well, Ange Loosa. How can a guy who's getting smashed in a fight like that have the audacity to want to fight now that the fight's been called off? I'm starting to believe that. Some UFC fighters would be great actors. Aljamain would be a good one. And I also believe that Ange Loosa would definitely be a great one because, okay, it was an eye poke, fair enough. But you've been taking all these whacks to the head. And I know your eyes are a very sensitive area. Taking like these kicks to the body. It wasn't the eye, which is why he quit. I know it wasn't. And you might be like, well, you're not inside of his body. But it's like, I'll kill you. And well, if you're saying all of this, then why didn't you carry on fighting? I don't get it. It was clear as day what was happening. You were getting absolutely pummeled. You're not even looking to grapple. You're just taking a beating and you're like, let me just try and somehow, and I know I might sound negative, but I'm sorry, this is just how I feel about it. Maybe why don't I just try and find a way out and hope that they don't say it's a no contest and I might get given a KO win. That's what he was probably thinking, like a disqualification win, not a KO win. But no, that's not going to happen in the first round. It weren't intentional. He's measuring the distance and that happens. It's unfortunate, but it's just the fact that as soon as the fight was over, you now want to fight when you had all that time to rest and then you say you can't see, which is fair enough if you can't, but I don't believe it because you know what happened after the fight and it's just like, don't make this fight again. Don't even give him that opportunity again. He needs to fight much lower down. He should be on the prelims after that. Bryan battle destroyed him in every aspect, even though there wasn't any like significant grappling involved. This fight here, just Bryan battle needs to be fighting way bigger guys than Ange Loosa. The fact that this guy almost submitted Jack Della Maddalena surprises me still, but he's just a big ball of muscle who can grapple, but he's not that good. And he shouldn't be fighting as a co-main either. Canadian Nzechukwu versus Ovince St. Preux has probably cost or lost a lot of people a lot of money in this company. Well, not the UFC, but you know what companies I'm on about have made hundreds of thousands off this. I don't know why anyone would have put anything on this. I did say don't put anything on this just in case Ovince St. Preux goes out there and tries to submit him. He didn't. He looked to stand up there and strike with him. And let me tell you, Canadian Nzechukwu, I am very concerned about him. Like, very. I know he's a light heavyweight, but he looks like he's a heavyweight. Also, his chin is very, very suspect. And the fact that he beat Carlos Ulberg, I still can't believe that's even happened. It shouldn't have happened. Because when you watch how he fights, he just looks scared. I don't know what is there to be scared about of Ovince St. Preux. He's a 40-year-old man. He's at the age where he can get a pension. I'm joking, obviously not. He's not a senior citizen, but in terms of UFC fighters, he's old. 40 years of age. You go out there all gun shy and you have the guy who's older than you outworking you. Fair enough if you... Well, no, not fair enough, but you lost. But what makes it even worse is he outlanded him and got knocked down. Like, if I'm Canadian Nzechukwu, I'm going back to that gym tomorrow and I'm starting training again. I wouldn't even, like, take a break because I'm like... That is very concerning. Very, very concerning. Like, Dustin Jacoby finished him quickly, and then you're like, okay, we've given him over in St. Preux. He should be able to control the distance. He should be able to get a knockout in the first round, which I thought he would be able to do. And he didn't because he didn't apply a pressure at the right points. And he wouldn't maintain a consistent amount of pressure going forward. It was actually St. Preux leading the majority of the time. Like, he would be going forward at times, whereas Canadian Nzechukwu was staying in the middle, taking like small steps back. measuring the distance, allowing him to use his kicks. Like, what are you doing? You need to fight in the inside against Ovince in Preux. Have you not watched this fight against Felipe Lins? In that fight against Lins, he was so scared. He was taking a beating in his guard. That is what we all anticipated a guy like Kennedy Nzechukwu to do, but he fought scared, and he gave the 40-year-old, who shouldn't even be fighting anymore, in my opinion, this win. And he is going to continue fighting now, because he's going to have confidence. I've just beaten Kennedy Nzechukwu, a younger guy. I'm in my 40s, looking like I'm on my way out. I get a win every now and then, but I don't really win anymore. And now look, Kennedy Nzechukwu, that's just a horrible look on his record. Horrible. But if you want to talk about one of the fights that shocked me the most, it was got to be this fight. Rodriguez against Isaac Dulgarian. When I heard that it was a win for Rodriguez, I thought I was dreaming or something, because I thought it was clear as day that it was a 28-27 win for Dulgarian. Because round one, it was Khamzat Chimaev levels of control. All of this high IQ takedowns that Rule Rosas Jr. couldn't do. And it wasn't really desperation, shooting him for these stupid double legs. Unlike the third round, which it was more desperation about surviving. But the first round, he approached it with a good strategy and it was working. He almost submitted him with the arm triangle, took the back, was maintaining the control, 10-8, a good amount of domination, which, yeah, you've got to give him that. And then second round, this is where the controversy is coming in. Round two. I don't know how you can give that to Rodriguez. The only good thing he landed in that round was the knee. And you're going to be like, well, what did Dulgarian land? He just hugged him. Well, I don't like using the stats all the time, but if you actually do go to the stats, the striking wasn't as big as some people are making it to be. Some people think, oh, he didn't do anything, he got outstruck. Not really. And I know they're not always concrete, but I'm using it as a baseline to show that it wasn't a significant, massive striking differential in the second round, which would make it a Christian Rodriguez. It's not like that fight earlier with Chad Allenhiga, where he was doing massive damage with elbows, even though he was being hugged. He was being thrown all over the place and getting his back taken with control. And I thought we looked at after damage, other areas like effective aggression and the control, and Dulgarian was better. So I'm sorry. To me, he won that second round quite comfortably. Well, not comfortably, but, well, yeah, comfortably. I'm going to stand by that. Yeah, I think he did it quite comfortably. You might not have thought he did, because he landed that knee and that was about it. But so did Dulgarian, but they were small strikes that no one's really looking at. So we are looking at the grappling. Therefore, he should be given that round. And round three, I'm not going to sit here and say it was a 10-9 for Rodriguez. Yeah, okay, it was a 10-8. Therefore, that's what the fight should have been, 28-27. But unfortunately, we didn't get that. And I'm just confused by the scorecards. I bet it was John McCarthy. 1 minute. Not John McCarthy, Ron. Surprise, surprise. But it was also Sal D'Amato as well. But still, I don't understand how it was scored that. But fair enough. And we have Gerald Meerschaert and Bryan Barberena. Again, Barberena was in the Tai Tuivasa category where he can strike, but he can't grapple. The guy knocked down Leon Edwards, the champion, but couldn't finish him. This guy, stop feeding him specialist wrestlers for now. The guy's had enough. They're going to make these strikers retire at this rate. And I know it was MMA, you need to mix it up. But come on, these matchmakers are absolutely trolling these fighters right now. It's like they're punishing them each fight. Bryan Barberena looks out of shape. Middleweight. Middleweight's meant to be full of strikers. How are you not matching him up with one? So, I'm trying to think of a middleweight that we could give him. I think we should give Bryan Barberena Robert Bruzek. That's the type of fight. I know he's just debuted and lost, but be a striker against striker who's a bit lower ranked because he just lost, and that's what he needs right now. He's going through a tough time. Mike Davis does it again. He's in the Sanhagen category, not in terms of levels or anything before you say that, but where he used to be a striker, but he is now converted to a wrestler, and it looks like he's worked in his jiu-jitsu. And I would have never have called him to submit Natan Levy. Natan Levy's got decent jiu-jitsu. Mike Davis needs to have like a massive step up as a lightweight. Like, we know he's a good fighter. I think we need to put him up against like a harder, maybe even, I know it sounds like a push, give him a guy like Drakkar Klose. I'd want to see a fight like that. That'd be entertaining, because Mike Davis is on a win streak, but because he's been inactive, we don't get to see him fight often. So, and he's beaten decent guys like Mason Jones, Viroslav Borshev, a very good striker people are scared of. And now Natan Levy, who he's looked a bit mid in his fights, but Mike Davis is good. This was just one of them fights where it's not fair. It's like putting a man against a woman. And I'm not saying it because of the way how she looks, I'm saying it because of the way how she's built. You're giving a 5'2", which is like a height that some women are, against a guy who's, no, not a guy, a girl who is 5'8", which a lot of men are. And then compare the size difference in terms of weight, you can see that Chandler is just physically just more strong than she is. And I believe she missed weight as well. And then because she's missed weight, she's able to use that on Nunes and hug her, bring her down to the ground, and use that ground and pound and just be stronger than her. And Nunes struggling to find the range until like round 3. Round 1 she did all right, but it weren't good enough in my opinion. And in round 3 we started to see her pour it on her. But this is a fight where if they were both the same weight and same height, I think Nunes could beat her, but she's fighting a person who's got a body with what some men have. So who's going to win? It's quite obvious. But it actually wasn't. It was an underdog pick, but when you're looking at the bodies, I can see what happened. Right, we now have Jafel Filho versus Osbourne. Osbourne is, unfortunately, he's coming to the end of a road in terms of, if he keeps losing, I think they might cut him because he don't really look that exciting in fights. He has boring fights when he actually wins the fight. Like, look at that fight with Charles Johnson. It was horrific. Probably a nice person, but that's not how life goes. Just because you're a nice person, it doesn't mean you deserve to stay here. And for Filho, I don't think he's got the hardest hands in the UFC. He can hit hard. Well, not in the UFC, I mean in terms of flyweight. But his wrestling is so superior to a lot of these flyweights where once he gets you down, he's very good at controlling you. That's if he can get you down. Like, as soon as he hits you, done, finished. Like, Daniel Barrez drops him early, but he can come back because of his grappling. And that's what's going to save him in a lot of fights. And I believe a fight with him, I would have said Matt Chanel. But when I think about it, we can't, because Matt Chanel's going to be out for a long time. Filho took no damage. Maybe a fight with, I almost said Makaev, but he just fought Makaev. I'd like to see him fight. I know it's another fast-tracked opponent, but maybe a David Dorak or maybe an Alex Perez. Because with flyweight, it's a bit like a cycle. Like, we've seen the same guys for years now. We need to get more into the mix. So if we can shove more into it, like these guys who are looking impressive, it will change things up. Like, if you can now put in Steve Erceg against Pantoja, I believe you can do this also. And lastly, Danny Silva, Josh Culibao. Yeah, I know I could talk about the other fight of Thiago Moises, but we all know what happened in your Chad Elahiga, where the guy gaffs out after the first round. I don't need to go into all of them. Like, you saw what happened, hopefully. If not, I apologise. But with Danny Silva and Josh Culibao, was it a robbery? In a lot of people's minds, yes. I don't think it was a robbery, but I think this is worse. I don't think it's worse than the Isaac Dulgarian fight, because I can see why people gave him the first round. I didn't. I do believe Josh Culibao won the fight. But you have to look back at that first round, and when you see him get dropped early and get a guillotine, 2 fight-ending sequences, no matter what you do in that fight, if you don't knock him down, you're going to have people saying that, oh, we won that round off damage, which is why I can see that. But then when you look at what happened after that, where he was controlling it with volume, smashing his head in, being like a punching bag, taking a load of punishment, Not like getting rocked or anything, but he's getting beaten up completely, getting his head whacked. In my opinion, that wins you the first round. Like, Danny Silva only managed to land 11 significant strikes in that round. But you said that significant strikes don't mean everything. They don't. But when a guy outlands you massively in that round, well, I'm sorry, he did win that round. In my opinion, even though he dropped him early, if he dropped him and he was like being a bit shy and tapping him on the head and landing but not really doing much, then yeah, he wouldn't, but he did. And then round 2 as well. With Josh Culibao, I think he won that round. He was just doing some poor decision making where like you're clinching onto him, and as you clinch, you're allowing this guy to get underneath the armpit and lock his hands together and take your back, lift your hand over his armpit and just hold you there and try and get a hook in, but do nothing with it. Well, in my opinion, Josh Culibao won because he actually outstriked him on the feet. It's not like the Dulgarian where the striking was very like similar and then there was the control. If the striking was similar in that second round and he was getting that control, then yeah, we would look at that, but that didn't happen. He was outstriking him quite significantly and Danny Silva was just hugging. And the third round is one round where I can say, if he had fought like that from the first round, we would have given him that fight 100%. We'd all have agreed on it. But even though Josh Culibao landed him, Danny Silva clearly won that third round because he was walking him down. He was in his face, landing that cross, backing up Culibao. Culibao looked like he was getting a bit tired from all that volume, staying on the back foot, not looking like he wants to engage with any like massive punches down the middle. He would throw the occasional one. He didn't look like how he was fighting from round 1 and round 2. In round 2, the reason why we didn't see as many strikes or more strikes than the third is because he was being hugged. The third round, it wasn't just hugging. It was Danny Silva saying, let's go toe-to-toe and fight in the pocket, which he tried to do. And he won in that department when it came to trading in the third round. So after adding up all those rounds, I thought the conclusion would be 29-28. I was wrong, unfortunately. But that's just how it goes, and I don't think he won that. But I think the Dulgarian robbery was much worse because I do see why people would give him round 1. It's not like the Dulgarian where I'm like, I don't know how we're giving him that round 2 because he landed that knee that didn't even stumble him, and they landed a similar amount of strikes, and he had like way more control time than he did, if any, in that second round. And the third round 10-8 for that. And I'm not talking about Danny Silva, I'm talking about that fight, but this fight here, close fight, but Culibao for me. So yeah, that's it. A lot of strange things happened on this card. Oh well. Thank you for watching. Talk to you soon.